So, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, is it any good? I'll tell you. Welcome back guys, it's the Raw Geek here. Yes, I've seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 now. I thought I'd give a quick review on it. And yeah, I thought it was pretty good. See ya! No, I'm just kidding. I'll do a little bit more than that.
Just who in the hell do you think you are?
Well...
That was awesome!
He's so cute.
What's that? He says, welcome to the frickin' Guardians of the Galaxy. Only he didn't use frickin'. Look out!
This will be basically spoiler free. Of course, it's difficult to talk about a movie without mentioning the movie, so there might be things you're like... there'll be nothing spoilerish, but, you know, I will be talking about the movie, obviously. But also, because of that, I won't be going into depth about anything in the movie, Easter egg wise, or what it's leading up to for other MCU movies or anything like that. It'll be basically just, was it any good? So the main thing to say is the movie is a great action movie and a brilliant comedy movie rolled into one. Some of the back and forths are brilliant between the characters, the one-liners, the, you know, how literal Drax is and all that kind of thing. It was in the first like that, and it's in this again, and it's really good. It works really well. But also what I like about that is it does show the vulnerabilities of these misfits, because they're all about bravado and they make out like they're the best and they don't care what anyone thinks and they don't need anyone, all that kind of stuff. But of course they all do need each other quite heavily. So it was quite good to see more into their psyche and the fact that they are vulnerable. And that they do need each other and they do fit together and they're a good team really. But talking about the team, this is a bit of a spoiler, but quite early on they are split up, so you are having a couple of the team doing different things. You know, they all come together in the end obviously, but they are split up somewhat. But I suppose, you know, in the first movie they were split up most of the time and coming together now and again, so it was very much similar to the first movie in that regard. But yeah, the movie wasn't perfect. What movie is, right? I also don't think it was as good as the first, so I will just, you know, be honest about that. However, that doesn't mean it's a bad movie, because I think the first was brilliant, and I also think it would be impossible to be better than the first, because it was just so different to the MCU movies we, you know, have had so far. This was fully cosmic. I know we've had Thor, but you know, this was fully cosmic, and it was just very different, very zany. I think that's a good word to describe this, you know, these movies. And so, the first one blew me away. I thought it was magnificent, and I think a lot of people thought the same. So there's a lot of hype for the second one, a lot of build-up, a lot of pressure, and they're not gonna beat the first venture. I don't think the first outing. However, I do think they did a good enough job to say, you know, I hope you like that, and people go, yeah, we did. But yeah, to be honest, all the characters were on form again. Like I say, I think the back and forths were good, and for me, the star of the show, the person who stole the show, if you want to call it that, was Drax. I thought it was just so funny, just so funny. And strangely enough, I actually thought that Chris Pratt, well, Star-Lord, was probably the least prominent character, despite pretty much the storyline entirely revolving around him. So he wasn't, I don't think, as prominent as he was in the first. He was still, you know, he was still awesome, he was still funny, you know, he was still a great character, and played really well. They all play their roles really well. I just don't think he was as big a part in it for some reason. It's hard to describe that, because like I say, the movie is about him really. Yeah, maybe it's just because, like I say, Drax steals the show. But they, you know, they're fairly on par with their importance and how good the performance they do in the movie, so it's good for that respect, because sometimes you get team movies where there is like a weak link, but these are all really strong. But like I say, I just think Drax for me was the best. And for that reason, as I mentioned about the fact that it's action-packed and comedy-packed, it is pretty much for anyone. Casual viewers will enjoy it, Marvel fans, MCU fans will enjoy it, real comic book nerds will enjoy it. It will just work for anyone who wants to go and see a good movie. The movie itself is very standalone, so it just works as a standalone sequel. It's just more events for the Guardians of the Galaxy. Doesn't really tie in at all with MCU. There is a couple bits. I won't talk about them here because I don't want to spoil things. I will probably do another video about Infinity Stones, and I'll mention it in there. But the majority of this movie was just a very standalone story. It's just one of their, they've gone to do a job basically, and it's just leading on from there. Just like any comic book does, you just get not filler, but you just get stories about what they're doing, and now and again something is tied in with a bigger, story arc. So like I say, it's just a very standalone movie in that regard. I would say you wouldn't have even needed to see the first one to understand enough and enjoy it. It would obviously be a bit confusing, but like I say, it's very standalone. And you certainly wouldn't need to have watched any MCU movies other than the first one either, really. That's how standalone it is. And that's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's literally, it will work for anyone, so you can take your partner, your kids, whoever, it will work for you. In some ways, it's not ideal for the likes of maybe myself or other people really into MCU because you want to see more things tied in. But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, Iron Man movies, the sequels to Iron Man, nothing to do with what rest of what else is going on. So it's just a really good sequel with that gang. It's just that I was a little bit surprised how much it would just be a sequel because of how close we are to Infinity War, if that makes any sense. What I wasn't hugely impressed with though is how predictable it is. Sometimes you want a little bit more, you want to be guessing a little bit more, but I think, at least for me, I think for most people, fairly early on it's quite obvious what's going to happen, who's going to be the baddie, what alliances are going to be formed, what reconciliations are going to happen. All that kind of stuff is fairly, predictable, like I say. It's because I guess kids are going to watch it, so they've got to make it fairly easy to understand. But, it's not a bad thing because they want bombs on seats. It's a business, and that's fair enough. There's enough to keep me and even, really nerdy comic book people happy, and there's enough to keep, parents taking their kids who don't care about comics happy, that kind of thing. So it very much does cover a broad range of different people going for different reasons. So like I said, it's not a bad thing, but for me it just was a little bit predictable. But yeah, this movie had excellent humour, good action, the characters are brilliant again, the performances were excellent, the visuals and the effects, beautiful, it's really gorgeous stuff, really cool. It had everything you need. It was a bloody good movie. And also, not really a spoiler, but you might want to, put fingers in your ears. The cameo from Stan Lee I thought was very funny indeed because it did pay fan service. It was a nod to the fans and a particular theory about why Stan Lee cameos in the movies, which I thought was handled really well. It was funny, and I love seeing Stan Lee again. He's getting on now, and he still wants to be in the movies. He still wants to show up to things, and you got to give that guy respect. Like, he's awesome. So all in all, I give it 4 out of 5. I highly recommend it. It's a great movie. Go and see it in the cinema if you can. If not, do pick it up as soon as it comes out. It was just a really cool, zany, awesome movie. Excelsior! So guys, if you like that, please click like. Make sure you're subscribed for more videos like this, and I'll see you on the next video. And until then, remember, you've got a movie to go watch. See ya! Guys, if you're still here, you're awesome! But as you are still here, why not check out some of my other videos? Oh, and if you haven't already, please click subscribe. Laters, haters.